Welcome back to our channel, Soap Opera fans. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the treacherous waters of Genoa City. We have some explosive updates for you regarding the Newman family, so grab your coffee and let's unravel the twisted web of lies, addiction, and betrayal that is about to shake our favorite characters to their very core. The suffocating darkness of a dingy Genoa City motel room becomes the stage for a catastrophic turning point in the life of Nick Newman, a man who has plummeted from the glittering heights of the Newman Empire into the terrifying abyss of addiction. After a horrifying, drug-induced nightmare, where the sinister manifestation of Matt Clark guided him through the wreckage of his own life, a nightmare featuring the haunting ghost of Cassie Newman and the crushing guilt of Connor's imagined demise, Nick wakes up drenched in a cold sweat, his reality fractured and his soul laid bare. Just as the crushing weight of his isolation threatens to break him completely, a sharp knock echoes through the desolate room. Standing in the doorway is a ghost from his tumultuous teenage years. A woman whose sudden arrival is about to send shockwaves through the entire Newman family. Marie Kirkland has returned, her eyes holding a mirror to Nick's shattered state. But is this unexpected reunion a desperate lifeline or the final nail in his coffin? At first glance, Marie appears as a beacon of profound empathy, a savior wrapped in the nostalgic comfort of a shared rebellious past. She steps into the squalor of Nick's motel room not with the harsh judgment of Victoria or the desperate, suffocating pleas of Sharon, but with a quiet, knowing acceptance that instantly disarms his heavily fortified defenses. Marie speaks the language of the broken, validating Nick's overwhelming exhaustion from carrying the impossible expectations of being the perfect Newman son. She recounts their shared history of teenage substance abuse, weaving a narrative of two wounded souls who were always destined to understand each other's darkest corners. For a fleeting moment, Nick feels an intoxicating sense of relief, believing he has finally found someone who sees the agonizing pain beneath his addiction without demanding immediate perfection. But, as she gently closes the motel door, sealing them inside this toxic sanctuary, one must wonder, what is the true cost of this unconditional acceptance? The illusion of salvation quickly morphs into a chilling reality as Marie's true intentions begin to seep through the cracks of her compassionate facade. Instead of leveraging their shared history to encourage Nick to return to the rehabilitation center he so desperately needs, she introduces a highly dangerous, non-traditional philosophy of self-healing. Marie softly argues that the clinical, sterile environment of rehab is a prison designed by people like Victor Newman to control him, suggesting instead that true liberation can only be found by embracing their pain together. She transforms the desolate motel room into an isolated haven of escapism, actively enabling his darkest impulses under the guise of romanticized rebellion. As she watches Nick reach for the fentanyl packets, her eyes do not reflect the horror of a concerned friend, but rather a chilling, almost euphoric satisfaction. Is Marie merely a broken addict seeking a codependent partner in her own downward spiral? Or is she deliberately feeding Nick the very poison that will guarantee his absolute destruction? The descent into this codependent nightmare is swift and brutal, effectively severing Nick's remaining ties to the outside world and leaving a trail of broken relationships in its wake. Sharon Rosales, driven by a fierce, maternal instinct and a love that has weathered decades of storms, finds herself aggressively shut out, her desperate texts and calls echoing into the void of Nick's drug-fueled apathy. Marie expertly manipulates Nick's lingering guilt and resentment, convincing him that Sharon's love is a suffocating chain that will only drag him back into the oppressive Newman dynamic. By isolating him from the people who genuinely want to save his life, Marie establishes herself as his sole emotional anchor, a toxic deity in a temple of addiction. Nick, blinded by the chemical haze and the seductive comfort of her enabling, fails to see the invisible cage being built around him. How long can this fragile, drug-induced romance survive before the lethal reality of their shared escapism claims its ultimate toll? As the tragic romance between Nick and Marie deepens into a suffocating, lethal bond, the motives behind Marie's sudden appearance become increasingly sinister. Her actions transcend the typical behavior of a struggling addict. There is a methodical, almost clinical precision to the way she isolates Nick, dismantles his self-worth, and encourages his self-destruction. She caters to his every weakness, anticipating his moments of doubt and swiftly neutralizing them with carefully calculated doses of affection and narcotics. This is not a chaotic spiral, but a choreographed descent, raising terrifying questions about the true nature of her affection. Is Marie satisfying a sick, twisted psychological need to possess and destroy a powerful man, reducing the great Nick Newman to a dependent shell of his former self? Or is she operating under the directives of a darker force, a hidden puppet master who recognizes that the most effective way to destroy a Newman is from the inside out? While Nick drowns in the deceptive comfort of Marie's toxic sanctuary, a storm of suspicion begins to brew in the sharp, analytical mind of Mariah Copeland. Recently released from a psychiatric facility and possessing a hyper-vigilant intuition forged in the fires of her own past traumas, Mariah senses a profound, unsettling dissonance in the narrative surrounding Nick's sudden disappearance and his mysterious new companion. She observes the devastating toll Nick's absence is taking on Sharon, watching her mother crumble under the weight of Nick's cruel rejection. But it is the sudden, seemingly coincidental arrival of Marie Kirkland that truly sets off the alarm bells in Mariah's head. The timing is too perfect, the isolation too complete, and the enabling too systematic to be a mere twist of fate. What dark secrets is Marie hiding behind her empathetic smile, and how far will Mariah go to uncover the truth before Nick is lost forever? Mariah's suspicions are further amplified by her recent, deeply unsettling encounters with Matt Clark, a man whose reformed facade she is desperately trying to decipher. Despite Matt's charming, eccentric demeanor and his claims of seeking a fresh start in Genoa City, Mariah cannot shake the lingering shadow of his monstrous past, a past that includes inflicting unspeakable trauma upon her mother, Sharon. As Mariah navigates the cognitive dissonance of interacting with the man who is secretly her biological father, her protective instincts shift into overdrive. She begins to notice subtle, chilling parallels between Matt's manipulative tactics and the psychological isolation Marie is currently enforcing upon Nick. Could the sudden resurgence of Matt Clark and the unexpected arrival of Marie Kirkland be connected in a web of deceit far more intricate and deadly than anyone in Genoa City could possibly imagine? Driven by a fierce determination to protect her family and fueled by an undeniable gut instinct, Mariah launches a clandestine investigation into the enigmatic Marie Kirkland. Utilizing her sharp intellect and resourcefulness, Mariah begins to peel back the carefully constructed layers of Marie's history, searching for the digital footprints and buried secrets that might explain her sudden gravitational pull toward Nick. What she finds is a labyrinth of inconsistencies, erased histories, mysterious gaps in employment, and a timeline that perfectly aligns with some of the darkest chapters of the Newman family's recent struggles. The more Mariah digs, the more the image of Marie as a sympathetic, struggling addict shatters, revealing the terrifying silhouette of a calculated saboteur. What specific, damning piece of evidence will Mariah uncover that will blow this entire conspiracy wide open? The breakthrough in Mariah's investigation arrives like a thunderclap, delivering a revelation so shocking it threatens to upend the entire power dynamic of Genoa City. Deep within the encrypted archives of a defunct rehabilitation center from years past, Mariah uncovers a hidden connection that turns her blood to ice. Marie Kirkland and Matt Clark were not just passing acquaintances, their paths crossed in a significant, highly secretive manner during a period when Matt was actively plotting his vengeance against the Newman family. The records hint at a shared conspiracy, a dark alliance forged in the shadows of addiction and mutual hatred. The realization hits Mariah with the force of a physical blow. Marie's arrival at Nick's motel was never a coincidence, nor was it an act of nostalgic affection. If Marie is truly a pawn in Matt Clark's grand design, what horrific endgame have they orchestrated for the vulnerable Nick Newman? The terrifying scope of Matt Clark's masterstroke slowly comes into agonizing focus. Matt, a master manipulator who thrives on psychological warfare, knows that a direct assault on the Newman family would be met with the impenetrable wrath of Victor Newman. Instead, he has weaponized Nick's deepest vulnerabilities, deploying Marie as a beautiful, deadly Trojan horse to infiltrate Nick's defenses and destroy him from within. By feeding Nick's addiction and isolating him from his support system, Matt is orchestrating a slow, agonizing demise for the Newman heir without ever leaving a trace of his own involvement. This is not just an act of revenge. It is a calculated execution, designed to inflict maximum collateral damage on Sharon, Victor, and the entire Newman legacy. How long has Matt been pulling the strings? And what other sleeper agents might he have hidden within the pristine borders of Genoa City? As the sinister truth of their alliance is laid bare, the dynamic between Matt and Marie becomes a chilling study in psychological manipulation and shared malice. Is Marie a willing, enthusiastic accomplice, driven by her own hidden vendettas and a sick satisfaction in watching a powerful man crumble at her feet? Or is she, too, a manipulated pawn, bound to Matt by blackmail, past debts, or an equally toxic codependence? Regardless of her internal motivations, her actions in that desolate motel room are undeniably lethal. She is the executioner administering the poison, whispering sweet nothings as she watches the life drain from Nick's eyes. The line between savior and saboteur has been entirely obliterated, leaving only the terrifying reality of a predator playing with her prey. Will Marie's conscience ever pierce through the darkness of her mission, or is she entirely consumed by the destructive role she has been assigned? Armed with this explosive, life-altering truth, Mariah finds herself thrust into a desperate, high-stakes race against time. Every second that ticks by is another moment Nick spends locked in that motel room, sinking deeper into the lethal embrace of fentanyl and Marie's psychological grooming. Mariah must navigate a treacherous minefield, balancing the urgent need to expose the conspiracy with the terrifying knowledge that Matt Clark is a highly dangerous, unpredictable adversary who will stop at nothing to protect his endgame. She must find a way to break through Nick's drug-induced delusions, to make him see the monster hiding behind Marie's empathetic smile, all while shielding Sharon from the devastating reality of Matt's ongoing torment. Can Mariah outsmart the very man who shares her blood, or will her efforts to save Nick trigger a catastrophic retaliation from Matt Clark? The impending collision between Mariah's desperate rescue mission and Matt Clark's meticulously crafted conspiracy promises to unleash a storm of unprecedented destruction upon Genoa City. As Mariah prepares to kick down the doors of that dingy motel room and drag the ugly truth into the light, the stakes have never been higher. Nick is teetering on the absolute edge of the abyss, his mind and body ravaged by the lethal combination of narcotics and Marie's toxic manipulation. A confrontation is unavoidable, a violent clashing of truths, lies, and desperate survival instincts. When the smoke finally clears, who will be left standing in the wreckage of this dark conspiracy? Will Nick survive the devastating realization that his supposed savior was his ultimate saboteur? Or will the betrayal push him over the edge, into a darkness from which he can never return? Ultimately, the saga of Marie Kirkland and Nick Newman forces us to confront the terrifying fragility of the human psyche and the devastating power of unhealed trauma. It is a chilling reminder that the most dangerous enemies are often those who arrive wearing the masks of understanding and salvation. As Matt Clark's invisible hand continues to tighten its grip around the throat of the Newman family, the impending fallout threatens to shatter relationships, expose long-buried secrets, and redefine the very meaning of loyalty in Genoa City. The battle lines have been drawn, not in corporate boardrooms, but in the desolate corners of a motel room where a man's soul hangs in the balance. Will the love of a family and the fierce determination of Mariah Copeland be enough to break the chains of this demonic conspiracy, or is the tragedy of Nick Newman already written in the stars?